Hi there, welcome to my channel. I'm Denise Daffara. I'm an artist in Sydney, Australia. This video is a collection of pieces on paper, mostly that I'm working on. I happened upon a lovely artist, Wendy Brightbill, and I've known of her for quite a while, but I happened upon an offering that she was talking about this week and talking also about the idea of the 100, doing 100 things. Especially, I think, when your art business or practice has been in a lull. And although I've been making the tiny pieces on little wee wood and then the next size up that you would have seen in my most recent videos, I just do feel as though I've been in a creative lull in many ways, and my business is also that way. So, surrounding that has been a lot of funky energy, um, and parts of me being quite down on myself about all that. And so the idea of creating 100 pieces of imperfect, so 100 imperfect pieces on paper, is what I thought that could really be helpful. And the encouragement is to try and paint a similar thing for the 100 times. And so I'm sort of in between what I'm going to choose. So I'm sort of interested in loose florals, and then I made a collage which wasn't loose. I'll share bits and pieces with you in this video, but I wanted to just have a chat on the camera first before I've got to go back through the footage that I've got, and I'll probably do a voiceover and explain some bits and pieces along the way. Um, but essentially, I thought, oh, do I share it or do I not? Because I know that doing 100 days I've tried before, and it doesn't really work great for me. I usually run out of steam. I could start off a thing like that really strong, go for a while, and then often weekends will come along and it doesn't line up to make a thing that on the weekend and whatever like that. So I'm preferring to think of it as 100 pieces rather than 100 days. And that way you could have an art session and make 10 in one day. And so it doesn't have to drag on for that 100-day time, but you still end up with your 100 pieces, which I like that idea. And so the idea that you recreate a similar thing but in different ways or try new mediums. I think maybe this reflects back to the artist date idea that I shared a while back about giving yourself permission and time to do some things in your art practice that you've somehow thought you'd like to do, but you don't make time to because, like, if you're like me, there's a part of you that thinks, no, we're supposed to make this type of art, not that type of art. La 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 la. Especially if you're selling your work, you can sometimes then get into a bit of a groove, and that groove works great until it doesn't, and then it's like, oh, that becomes too confined, and the artist in you wants to bust out and do, you know, often different tangents or try a new thing. So that's I think, the gift of 100 imperfect pieces. Already, I'm sending a message to the perfectionist or the critic. No, they're imperfect. They're allowed to be. They're meant to be. It's okay. Um, so I wonder if that sparks something in you to think about that kind of project too. I think even like 10, 20, or 30, giving ourselves um, sometimes these parameters or guidelines can be really helpful. So that's kind of what I'm working toward this time. And I also made this sort of concertina book that I thought I could share with you. And this is just made with really the I bought a big roll of paper from Bunnings that you can use to cover the floor. You could use it to wrap paintings to send, and um, also I've been using it to cover my table surfaces to give it like a fresh covering sometimes, and it's just this pale brown. Um, so I made a concertina book just out of a strip because it was imperfect and really encouraged me to just start with this sort of thing. So I went to a friend's place and she gave me a bunch of flowers out of her garden. And you know how they are more unruly? They're often more a different assortment that you usually can buy in the shop, um, especially in the supermarket, you know, when they've just got the bunches ready and that's it. There's quite a small choice. But in someone's garden, there's all these different blooms that probably don't last very long. So that's why they're not um, in the commercial space. But how nice to be able to draw them. So I think for the most part, I have just used Neocolor 2 pencils. So that was the first one. And then this one, trying to be loose, trying to be loose. They're nice daisies. Um, and that one. So this idea of these florals, I don't even know if I'm wanting to do florals as a commercial thing for me to sell, but there's something about playing in that space that I'm drawn to. This is a drawing of an image that was on a book cover that I read recently, and I made a little wee tiny painting of it. I loved it so much. And then I drew it again and added some paint. Just love the feeling of this one. And then I did like a color wisdom card reading for myself the other day and just sort of wrote down the notes of that. And then I've switched the book around and started again. And this is an image that's in the front of my newest art journal. And there's this photo of these items on a table, and the floral bunches and the crockery and things are really interesting. So I keep getting drawn to try and re-sketch these, but I'm actually loving this a lot. I've used a little bit of texture or what do you call it? Paint pen and a lot of Neocolor. What else? I'm trying to see that I got it in the frame. A lot of Neocolor and oh, and I also did the black line first, the fine line drawing. So I'm very enjoying this one in particular. I think probably I really love the brightness and the strength of the color um, in that one. So that's all there is on this concertina rough little playing thing. And I've got a little bit more that I've recorded. Let's see if I can talk about some things as I do the voiceover for those. All right. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you enjoy it. To encourage myself and keep it quite easy, I found a pad of watercolor paper that I already had, and I decided to just cut it into 6 pieces, one page into 6 equal pieces. And they're not quite square, but they look quite nearly square. And so I just haphazardly was cutting them all up imperfectly. So here's where I'm in a kind of dilemma whether to do 100 imperfect, messy florals, or if I should keep playing with this design of the lady sitting at the table. So I did a couple with just trying this a different way of doing the lady at the table. I did on paper here. Um, and so this is not how I normally have been doing them on the board. I normally do the impromptu sort of spontaneous background with inks and maybe a bit of paint. And then I see where to place things after, but always kind of having this lady at the table with usually a chair and a piece of art behind her has been something that's sort of fallen into a groove with me, which I have enjoyed very much. But I just was getting a bit slower with pushing forward as to what next, what next. So hence, again, taking this idea to the paper. And so I thought I just did a basic outline of the shapes of the pieces of the painting. And then I wanted to see how spontaneous in mark making could I be with the knowledge of generally what was going to end up in that space, like thinking, well, this is the table, this is the art behind her, this is the plant, and still just trying to be really loose and free. So that's what I'm doing here, just with some inks. I think I thought I was using indigo blue, but it's marine blue, I would say, and a bit of antelope brown. It's kind of a magical, the antelope brown. It's got a tiny bit of a greenish tinge, and that is dark green, and they're all Daler Rowney inks. And the dark green, it's not quite the dark green I want it to be, and so I find that mix. I actually put a little bit of pink in my water there. I had that from something I was playing with the other day, and I thought, oh, let me leave that there. Having a little bit of pink mixed with the green might be just what I need to take that extra bright, that real brightness in that green that you don't normally find in nature, um, when you tone it down with a little bit of red or even with a little bit of brown. It just settles it a bit, I've been noticing. Mixing viridian green or emerald green with a little bit of umber. Inks just behave so differently to acrylics, and they're quite fun. And because it's watercolor paper, I was getting a different experience than when I use my inks and things on wood. So that was nice to just play with this and see, let me just try something else. And so I think I got to the stage there where I needed to just let that one dry. And I wondered about what will I do for this next one. So that's me thinking. Okay, so I've gone ahead and put a bit of water on the watercolor paper and then just adding color. So no sketch to start with this time. Just really loose mark making. I've sped this up double time, I think. So it was a more relaxed, um, gentle, quiet practice and quite lovely. Lovely kind of way in, I think. And um, I think I'm starting to wonder if um, the size is going to be right for this project. So here's my pieces dry, and I actually love line drawing, fine line drawing, and so that's why I decided to just go ahead and draw the figures in with my fine line pen. And because this is 100 imperfect, I didn't pencil them in, I just drew it straight on. And so that was a thing. And again, this is sped up double time, so I didn't draw this speedily. But it's an interesting thing when you get familiar with the shapes that you've been drawing, and so then you gain a little bit of confidence by redoing and redoing. So I noticed that. Um, but then I'm thinking I probably won't want to do 100 the same like this. So I'm just gonna, hang out with the idea, keep showing up. I might change the shape of my paper. I might start working on a bit larger, because I think I might actually really want to start bringing in some collage. So maybe next week's video, I will share some beginnings of collage. Um, yeah, because sometimes too small, it can get a little fiddly. I'm not sure. I've been enjoying the little things that I've been doing of late, and now I'm wondering, all right, can I encourage myself actually to build back up and make things a little bigger as well. And I love a striped t-shirt, so it was just easy to do that with the pen. I'll probably have to spray seal these, I think, when I'm satisfied with them being finished. So the only materials so far are ink and the fine line pen. And this another reason I thought I might want to go a bit bigger is because I want to start using Neocolor 2 crayons. And crayons being what they are, they're just a little fatter line. And on a tiny piece like this, it might not just be easy to get the kind of lines and details that I might want to try. I think having a bit of a larger surface just might give me, well, just a bigger space to try some other bits and pieces. I was thinking that I might want to come back and make that more of a gingham tablecloth. I'm not sure. I think the idea of this also might be to not labor over things too long and hard. Just sort of try and keep that spontaneity going of just what do you, at the spark of the moment, feel like doing. And, it doesn't at all need to be perfect. And so I've quite enjoyed that. And you can probably see too that I've sort of kept a similar color palette that's quite a gentle palette. So I've not really tried doing this recent little design. I've not really tried doing it in a whole different color palette. I'm always quite smitten with the plants having some yummy greens, and then I get carried away and want greens everywhere. So it'd be interesting in some ways to then, all right, how different can I make this same design? So that's something for me to think about, like some pinks and reds or pink and orange. It's quite a beautiful combination that I have not tried very much, but this would give me that permission to do so. And I'm also wondering about having collage backgrounds so I could make some really interesting papers and then bring those into the paper works. So I can already see, as I'm talking to you now and sharing these, I can already see the benefits of creating a practice like that, a bit of a challenge for yourself or an invitation to make a bunch of pieces similar to each other, or they have a theme that you've decided you're feeling called toward. Like, what are you feeling called toward is a beautiful kind of idea or invitation for yourself with your art making to reignite the passion if it's got a bit lost in world events or unwellness or anything like that. So, yeah, I really am curious, really curious to see what would happen if I make 100 pieces. What am I going to learn? Because if you do what you always done, you get what you've always got. And so it is an important part of our art practice to do some experimentation. And I think I just needed that bit of encouragement to do that. And I wasn't finding it hugely easy to always just do on my own. So it was really lovely happening upon this challenge, this idea. I don't even think it's any time now that formal 100-day challenge is around. So it doesn't matter. You can just create these opportunities for yourself any old time, really. And so let me know what you think. Does this is there something that you are interested in doing a whole bunch of to just stretch out of your comfort zone or try out some new materials or new ways that you feel inklings toward? I know that this happens for me when you're in the groove of painting how you normally paint, but in the back of your mind you think, what happens if I try to do this or that? I wonder how easy you find it to do that. Try the thing that is an inkling, or do you sort of override and carry on and usually do the way you know? It's interesting, isn't it, how we can do that? So I'd love to hear from you. Comment below if you have some thoughts to share. And if you have any questions about the materials. I have been meaning to sort of work out my materials and make a page on my website. I'll do that in the coming weeks. All right, that's it for this audio. And there they are. Sorry, voiceovering is a little bit wonky sometimes. I don't know. But there they are. Here are my beginning ones that I started. This is the first one I started with. So the messy floral idea and kind of a limited palette. So that's just a Payne's Grey Daler Rowney ink. And then this one, I did the background. I just made a few backgrounds and then kind of found a picture of a floral in a book and had a go at doing this one. I'm not 100% happy with this, how it's worked. I don't feel as though this background color is complementing this very well. And, you know, it's meant to be like a white pedestal type vase. So there's something about that that's not quite happening for me. But I particularly like that flower. So there you have it with, you know, with the mini practice. And then that's the one collage that I've started so far, but I think I'll share more about the collage idea next week. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'd love to hear from you. Okay, bye.